Okay, here we go. Let's call the City of Milton amended Common Council meeting agenda to order Tuesday, January 7th, 2025 at 6 p.m. and can get confirmation of appropriate meeting notice.
Meeting notice was posted at Milton City Hall, Milton Piggly Wiggly, and Hometown Ace Hardware.
And is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? We have an agenda and Pledge of Allegiance. Public comments regarding items which can be affected by council action. Is there anybody signed up?
There is not anyone signed up.
Okay, and there's two mayoral proclamations. One is National Human Trafficking Prevention Month, and one is the mayoral proclamation for Blood Donor Month. And I will sign those. And is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Public hearing, and that's it. On the comprehensive plan amendment for 12 Merchant Road. Is there anybody that would like to speak on this public hearing? I'll open the public hearing, and then if you want to speak on it, you come up to the podium and say your first and last name and address. And then you are allowed to give your statement to the council. There isn't any question or answer or back and forth. But when everyone is done speaking at the public hearing, then the public hearing is closed, and then council will have the opportunity to discuss, but no action will be taken. Correct?
Correct.
So I will open the public hearing now. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this? Anyone? All right, the public hearing's closed. And council has this back to them.
Just to inform the council, the ordinance wasn't finally complete, and ask that this gets tabled till next meeting.
Is there a motion to table this?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to table the amendment to the comprehensive plan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm good? Okay. Discussion and possible action regarding ordinances for cats.
Chris Debrov, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, would like to address the council regarding changing ordinances, considering having a cattery. If you'd like to go up to the podium, Chris, and yep, right up there, and state your name and your address, and you can speak to the council.
Yes, my name is Chris Dobrev. Me and my wife, our family live in 1148 Brown Drive here in Milton, and my understanding was that here is there is ordinance for not breeding cats. So I guess I'm asking you if it's possible to remove it, and if you have any questions that.
So is it that there's no ordinance or it's prohibited?
Currently, the maximum number of cats allowed by ordinance is 3. They are interested in having more than 3 at a time, if I'm speaking correctly.
Yeah, more than 3. Yeah.
So in order to license them, we would have to set up some sort of ordinance similar to a dog kennel license, which we just currently do not have.
And then
I think the dog is different than the cats. There are more restriction for the dogs. I guess it's not exactly the same. I don't know. They're bigger. And
So right now, if I'm understanding this correctly, you could breed dogs in the city of Milton if you got a license.
oh, okay. I just not familiar. I'm sorry.
You would, right, you would, so what you're asking is that there be a provision similar to the breeding dog provision, but for cats.
Yes.
And it would not remove the restriction on number of domestic pets you could have in general, because you would have to get a license if you're going to have more. Am I understanding the request correctly?
We could set up an ordinance to allow breeding of cats, and it would follow similar ideas along our dog kennel ordinance.
And then would there be a public hearing regarding this or no?
We can certainly set it up that way. It's what council would choose to do.
Is it, like, do we know if we had a public hearing on the dog one?
Currently, we do it for the dog.
We do have public hearings for the dog ones? Okay.
And I don't believe there are any issued in the city at this time, but we do have provisions for it, for dogs.
Okay. Does the council have any questions regarding or direction for staff regarding this agenda item?
I have a couple questions. So we don't currently have anybody in the city that has a dog kennel license?
That is correct.
And I didn't look at that ordinance, but if they, because I would assume we would want to mimic it if we did do the cat breeding, we would look at the space just like we did like a chicken coop or something like that, where it would have to be guidelines and stuff adhered to.
We can certainly do that, yes.
Oh, okay.
And there are communities that have ordinances that we can look at.
Yes, there are.
How many cats do you have currently right now, sir?
We have 3 cats, but we have a lot of traffic on kittens between 3 and 5 months. The site, you can see the website, it's maxkunz.com, and since the war started from Ukraine, some of our friends over there ask us to help them and we've been helping like for 2 years. We are tired of it, and we want to have our cats that we can breed. So we've been importing some, helping mostly from people. Because they have like beautiful animals over there, and since the war started, they cannot do nothing about it. So some of the breeders they got out of Ukraine, in Europe, Romania and Latvia and some other stuff, and we've been trying to help for the last 2 years, and that's what we have been doing with kittens. There is no restriction for kittens from 3 to 5 months, so that's what we have been doing. And we filed the taxes. We pay it on our social security because I didn't know what to do. Like last year, we had to put on almost like half of $500,000 of traffic on our social security. Like we have a company, but this is something that we've been just doing, and it's different than the company that we are selling on Amazon and stuff. And so we kind of put the company on side for the last 2 years and do that, but we are tired of doing that, and hopefully the war is going to be over there and most of the people move. So we want to have our cats to breed, because like a lot of people actually that buy kittens like for the last 2 years, and most of them they wanted to breed some of their cats, and we've been helping them with like breeding rights and stuff. So actually right now we have like a lot of customers that in different parts of in Wisconsin, that they also sign up with us. And my wife and me, we want to breed ours also. So that's what we have been doing. And uh, we cannot do more than 10 breeding. That's the maximum that me and my wife can do. So we also done it in our country. We have like a cattery over there also. So my cousin is helping over there. But that's what we want to do here in our home. Yeah.
So you would anticipate that the largest number of adult cats might be 10? Is that,
Maximum, that's the maximum, but that's the maximum that we can do in our home.
yeah.
And let's say
So as
two
we look
males
at other
probably, so this has
ordinances,
to
we
be
might
12.
be able to measure that against whether 10 is a reasonable number, or we find that, 6 or 8 is the number that is in some of these other ordinances.
So is there, okay,
Is this aside from, are you also boarding cats too? Because that's where the problem came from, right? Is you were,
Yeah, but we have like an office that we rented here in that red church, and we also, when we find like adoption family, it's like adoption. If some other cats come from our friends, we just put them, we just quarantine them up to 14 days, and because they have to be like fed, and we find the family before they come, but we've also done that. Yes, we've done that. But I'm not asking for like that also. I mean, we have to.
Teresa has something that she wants
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
say.
we have to get probably a license here, not license. How do I say it? I'm not sure.
Are you speaking to the state license?
I'm not sure. Well, for the company, we just file we just open a company online, right? But for that, we have to have a license for like doing that, right? Probably through the city,
business license.
business
Yeah.
license. Yeah, yeah. For business
But all
license.
of these things are going to have to be defined very carefully. If people bring them in from another country or wherever, uh, those that stay at your home,
Yeah.
as opposed to their own home or another place, does it become a part of your business, and where are they being housed? And do they fit under that 8 cat limitation, or whatever the limitation is?
No, we cannot mix them. Whatever is in our home is gonna stay in our home. There is no kittens coming from outside to our home, because there is a lot of viruses, bacteria, and
Right.
especially the cats. They do a lot of those viruses. That's why we quarantine them, and we look how are they doing, and what are they doing. If they have something, they are checked from state doctors, from some that they come outside, but some that are here in Wisconsin, we just look what they're like, and we like stabilize them if they need to.
So we are going to have to identify what does need to be done when transferred from another country.
Well, I
or-
think there's federal and state laws
Yeah.
Okay.
that govern that. So I think what we would just look at is what we have for dogs. Because I think we're just looking at in the home.
Yeah.
But the other
Just in the
thing that
home.
you had mentioned, that you had talked about adult cats, but at what age do they become adult cats?
5 months.
5 months, okay.
Yeah.
So is there a motion from the council to direct staff to research an ordinance to bring back?
Does it have to be a motion or just a direction?
a
a direction or a motion?
A motion to direct.
A motion to direct.
There we
That's
go.
what I said.
I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to find out from what other municipalities have written under their cat breeding ordinances
Okay.
And bring an ordinance back.
and bring it
Lisa.
back to us to be able to discuss at council, and then we'll obviously invite,
Yeah,
make a
and
public.
and
hearing.
besides of kittens coming from like area of Ukraine that we've been helping with, we just don't want to do that anymore. We are very tired of doing and helping. It was accidental thing that started. We didn't want it to do it, but their cats became like start to become bigger, and they were worried, and we were helping with some money, and then okay, we'll help with that, and that's like just for 2 years we've been helping, and just we are tired of doing that with my
Okay.
wife. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And we will let you know when we have this ordinance and for you to come back,
Okay.
okay?
I'll call you again.
We'll call
Alright,
you again.
yeah.
But could
just
we
need
get
time to
some-
create something.
Could we get some direction from you as far as like what a scenario,
I think staff can reach out to him if
Yeah,
they have questions.
I'll talk to him and
Yeah, that
figure out what we need.
Okay,
yeah, that's fine. I mean, like, that's our maximum in our home. We feel that we can do only 10 breeding mothers with 2 males also, and there's gotta be 2 at least like nurture cats. They're always with that. We always have to nurture someone or something and donate it.
okay.
But
All right. Thank you, that's all we need.
yeah, but
Thank you.
if you say we cannot do 10, 8 or 6, whatever you
Okay.
say, that's fine.
Well, we'll figure it out and we'll reach out to you if we need further information.
Yeah, please.
Thank
Thank
you
you very
so
much.
much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
A second?
You can go.
You can go. You're free to go. Thank you.
I will be in touch.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. We will be talking about this in the future. Oh, thank God. Okay. Thank you. All right. Discussion and action on modifying the residential exterior improvement program application and guidelines.
The Community Development Authority has recommended additional language to the Residential Exterior Improvement Program application and guidelines, and to increase the maximum amount of the grant to $10,000. This past year, we have identified a couple of issues with the commercial facade grant program. People were applying for grants once work had already begun or work was already completed, which is against the policies of the grant program. We want to prevent this in the commercial and the residential grant. So the Community Development Authority has requested that language be prominently inserted into the application and guidelines stating that construction may not start until a letter of agreement has been signed between the grantee and the city. The Community Development Authority noted that some recipients of the grant were having a hard time getting the work scheduled and started within the current guidelines. They requested that 2 changes be made to address this. The first would require the contractor be under contract within 6 months of the award, rather than currently what our policy is to have that work started within 6 months. The second would be to move up the award to provide more time earlier in the year to get the contractor scheduled. The application would now be due in March rather than April, and the application period would open as soon as the city council has set TID budgets. Finally, the Community Development Authority has requested that the maximum grant amount change to $10,000 from $5,000, and that council approves funding for the amount of $50,000 rather than $25,000. Both TID 7 and 10 are anticipated to see positive funding this year and can afford the changes recommended. Fiscal impact, TID 7 and 10 would be required to supply the additional $25,000 to the program. The 2025 TID 7 and 10 budgets can fund this. Recommended motion, a motion to approve the updated residential exterior improvement program application and guidelines.
Questions or comments? This was thoroughly discussed at Community Development Authority at a couple of meetings, and they voted, and this is their recommendation.
I'll move to approve the updated residential exterior improvement program application and guidelines.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or further comments? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and action on modifying the commercial facade improvement grant guidelines and application.
I'd move that we approve the modification of the commercial facade improvement grant guidelines and application.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding a work order from Baxter and Woodman for design and construction engineering services for the TID number 7 project. What did we do on Merchant Row last time?
The most recent project was the construction of Ansley, the addition there between front and the parking lot. Prior to that, we did the parking lot expansion. There was 2 separate parking lot expansions that were completed along
Didn't we
Merchant Row.
do something on Merchant Row itself?
And then prior to that, there was a paving project, a resurfacing project on Merchant Row. It was done in 2 separate projects. I think one was 2008, that was at the north end, and the south end was done maybe 2012. I don't recall the exact year.
And how old?
Designed that island.
Yeah, there was some work on the islands and some concrete curb and gutter.
And how old is Buten Street?
Buten Street, I believe that was installed around 2005.
Oh my God! So I have no concept of time. I'm like, I feel like we just did these roads. All right, I guess they're old enough for us to redo. But I didn't age at all in that time period. Any other questions or comments from anyone? Is there a motion?
I'd move approval of the TID 7 street and utility improvements design and construction work order.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding change order number 1 for the well house improvement project.
The well house improvement project is underway. This change order is for work related to well number 5. There is an automatic transfer switch which is going to be installed for the operation of the generator, and that will be located on the rear of the building. That will be installed between 2 windows. The ATS panel that's submitted by the supplier is a little larger than what would fit between the 2 windows. So we're looking at infilling those windows with brick to eliminate the void space between the panel and the windows. In addition, there is an HVAC core required in the roof of well number 5. The shop drawing submittals again provide that that's larger than what was designed. So the additional work related to the HVAC is the structure to maintain the structural integrity of the precast panel roof. Baxter and Woodman has reviewed the proposed structural changes and recommends proceeding. The proposed change order results in an increase in the contract value by $5,514 and would be covered by the water utility. City administration recommends approving change order number 1 for the well house improvements.
Any questions or comments? Or a motion?
I would move to approve change order number 1 for the well house improvements.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding resolution 2025-1, amending City of Milton fee schedule.
This resolution corrects an error in the previous resolution setting fees. Listed on resolution 2024-24, a resolution amending fee schedules at the city council's last meeting. The non-resident price for South Goodrich and Lamar Park Pavilion's rental permit was listed $250. This price accidentally included the deposit that is returned at the conclusion of the rental if the pavilion is maintained in good condition. That $250 rate was set as a percentage increase. Using the correct number, the resolution will set the permit for the fee for non-resident to $125. That would be a $25 increase over what it was originally set at. City of Milton will see a slight increase of revenue to offset the increasing costs of providing these services, and administration recommends approval of 2025-1, a resolution amending the fee schedule.
Question, comments? A motion?
I move to approve resolution 2025-1, amending the fee schedule.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right, resolution 2025-2, resolution honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a visionary leader, Baptist minister, and civil rights activist who dedicated his life to the pursuit of equality, justice, and nonviolent social change. And whereas Dr. King played a pivotal role in the civil rights movement, leading transformative events such as the Montgomery bus boycott, the Birmingham campaign, and the historic March on Washington, where he delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech. And whereas Dr. King's unwavering commitment to truth, integrity, and accountability continues to serve as a guiding light for individuals and communities striving to eliminate racism, discrimination, and inequality. And whereas Dr. King's leadership, rooted in the principles of nonviolence and love, inspires us to confront injustice wherever it exists and to work toward a society that reflects the dignity and worth of every human being. And whereas the City of Milton recognizes the importance of honoring Dr. King's legacy and reaffirming our commitment to the ideals he championed, including equity, justice, and unity. And whereas Monday, January 20th, 2025 marks Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the federal holiday honoring the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., now therefore be it resolved that the Milton Common Council honors and celebrates the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., recognizing his profound contributions to the advancement of civil rights and social justice in the United States and beyond. The Common Council encourages all residents of Milton to reflect on Dr. King's teachings, participate in events commemorating his legacy, and engage in acts of service to build a more just and equitable community. The Common Council pledges to continue fostering an inclusive community, guided by the values of truth, integrity, and accountability that Dr. King exemplified. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2025-2. All those in favor say aye. Brian? Okay, I'm not sure if Ryan can hear us. Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding 2025 committee, commission, and board appointments.
The appointments that are listed before you are for the Sex Offender Review Board to start with. The council member that Mayor Welch had recommended is Alder Ryan Holbrook. Citizen appointments for the Sex Offender Review Board include John Cruzan and Heather Crabtree. And then for Historic Preservation Commission, Sari Him, and Public Works Committee, Jenny Robbie. And then for the Sex Offender Review Board, Police Chief Brandon Saxey and City Administrator Paul Hench are also appointed by ordinance.
Is there a motion to approve the committee and commission and board appointments?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. And general items.
I have
I'm
Thank you,
sorry,
Ryan. Thank you,
Ryan,
Ryan.
I couldn't hear you.
He's gonna work.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
don't work too hard. From
Teresa?
the beach. Yes, as all of you know, we had the Narcan nasal sprays exchanged for new ones. And if you didn't have an opportunity to drop yours off, you were asked to bring yours tonight. Either way, Paul did bring them to the meeting, so please stop by down here to exchange yours if you have a chance, or talk to us if you didn't bring them tonight. If you need a new one, we'll take care of that.
And are these just for the people that have had the training or for anyone?
Either if you haven't had the training and need it, let me know. Otherwise, we can talk to you about it, because the sprays are much more,
User friendly?
perfect. You don't necessarily have to go through the training to access them, like
Okay.
you did with the shots.
With the shots, yep. Thanks. Any general items for anyone else? I have a general item, just to remind everyone, the Ice Age Trail candlelight hike is this Saturday at 6 p.m. at Storrs Lake. As you all know, we worked to be an Ice Age Trail community, and the library does a lot of stuff with the Ice Age Trail. And in fact, the Ice Age Trail just goes right through the library's doors and through their little story gardens. So I encourage everyone to spread the word about that. I don't know of anything else going on, except for, the library has 25 things, but they'll talk about that soon. Chief?
I met with Nick Moore, our new officer, he's here today. He'll be sworn in this Friday, at 9 a.m. here at Council Chambers, and they'll begin examining Monday, 13th. Also, Craig Quarter is looking through his field. I have the same issue that Mark did with the red light thing. I thought it was off this whole time. Nick Moore is getting sworn in Friday at 9 a.m. here at Council Chambers Academy to start on the 13th. Officer Corder is doing really well in the field training process, and he's set to complete that already by February 10th, which would allow Officer Schneider then to get back into schools a lot earlier than anticipated. I will be doing some active threat training with the library staff this coming month, the 16th. And I got news from Griffin Ford that our 2 new fleet vehicles will be built this coming week. So hopefully we'll see those in about 3 months once everything's set up and installed. Other than that, nothing else for the PD.
Thank you. Ashley?
Well, speaking of the Ice Age Trail, some of the funds from their upcoming candlelight hikes will go towards helping us purchase outdoor items available for checkout, such as snowshoes and hiking poles and stuff like that. So we'll soon have a kind of an outdoor library of things collection. So that's very exciting. And in 2024, the library saw over 2,000 more library visits compared to 2023. And although we saw a small decrease in the number of physical checkouts, our total number of circulation increased because of our digital collections. So people are using libraries just a little bit differently these days. I will share my year in review presentation with everybody soon. I shared it with the board last night, and I'll share it with our foundation on Thursday. And then our new hours have started, and people are really enjoying our 9 o'clock start time. So it's really fun.
Thank you. Mark?
The well project is continuing. Well 6 should be back online next week, so that's good. Then they'll take well 5 out of service and begin the work there. We also had a water main break, unfortunately, on Monday on Woodcrest Lane. I don't know if anybody was aware of it. If not, that's probably a good thing. Other than that, there's no snow in the forecast.
Yes, money to go back in the budget. Jenny?
Today was the deadline for the spring election for anyone who is interested in the open positions. So that's 3 alderperson and 1 mayor for the spring election, which is on April 1st. And so our candidates that completed paperwork for the position of alderperson, Brooke Skolman, Molly Budlong, Derek Hensey, and Charlotte Walker. That's in the order that they submitted their papers. And then also for mayor was Eric Stockman. So it looks as of right now, the city will not need a primary, but it is there. We are planning to have a February 18th primary for other races for the state. So we should know that for confirmation by the end of the week. And that's all that I have.
Great.
Leadership team met today, and we're starting to implement the parts of the strategic plan we passed at our last meeting.
Excellent. So committee reports. Did anybody have any committee meetings besides the library?
She took all my stuff.
Okay. All right, Ashley is gonna have to go after Eric on these. Okay, so did I miss anything for committee, staff, or general items? Anything for anyone? All right. You all received your team building question, and it is regarding Martin Luther King Jr. What did you admire about him, and how did his life have a personal impact on yours?
I'll start. I think the admiration part is self-explanatory with the man's life. The impact, as a young man from South Carolina, going into the military, barely 18 years old, literally only 18, about 3 weeks. It was a bit of a cracker, and half of my flight was from South Carolina, the other half was from Boston. And there was a young man from Boston who studied the works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. very closely and saw my racism and bigotry as ignorance and not as hate. And that follows right in line with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s teachings, that you don't meet violence with violence, you meet it with education. And that's what this young man did. And I left basic training different in more ways than I ever expected. So that's mine.
Thank you.
The thing that I always find nearly incomprehensible is King's ability to turn the other cheek, for lack of a better um, term. You know, given the fact that it's clear that we all have a sense of anger, we all have the ability to look at things and to strike out. The fact that he had the rare ability to not strike out and to convince other people. You know, when you think about the the John Lewises of the world and some of King's compatriots who suffered because of the cause and because of the leadership of King. It's, I think, a lesson for all of us that often we can kind of not strike out, but seek an alternative method of addressing those injustices.
In an undergrad philosophy course, we read a letter from a Birmingham jail, and it just really kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things in my life. But the quote, you know, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere," has always really just stuck with me, and I still believe in that, and I still see that in our world, and it's unfortunate, but it reminds us to continue to fight against these injustices.
So I think too much in our society, I think it's easier sometimes if it doesn't affect me, we kind of hold back and we just keep our mouths shut and don't say anything. And I think what I admire most is that he wasn't afraid to stand up against the machine. It didn't matter how big it was or if it included the government or whatnot to speak what's truth and to get some traction behind. And I think it's more dangerous when we just sit back because it doesn't affect me and not do anything. There are other voices that could join you in whatever cause it may be that you think you should stand up against, that you should speak loudly and to make change.
I have always admired the work of Martin Luther King Jr. and his relentlessness and his resilience and strength. And I can't even imagine everything that he went through. And still, he was brilliant and he kept going. And how his life impacted my life was, you know, when he was assassinated, he was there to march with the AFSCME workers who were being discriminated against and unjustly treated. And I became president of AFSCME 2489 when I was in my early 20s, and he had a direct connection to AFSCME and that union. And getting the Civil Rights Act passed was nothing short of a miracle. And directly from the Civil Rights Act was the Fair Housing Act, which allowed me to purchase my first home by myself as a woman and not be discriminated against. Because fair housing addressed the discrimination that routinely took place and had taken place over decades against protected classes. So I don't think we always realize how those actions and those federal laws have directly impacted us, and because to us it's just every day. Women go buy houses all the time now, right? They have credit. They have their own ability for financial independence, but that comes from Martin Luther King Jr. and all of the work that was done. And that was a very complicated movement. And there was not always agreement even within that movement. And there was a lot that had to be overcome even within that movement. So I am just grateful that we have this opportunity to talk about it and that everybody is willing to talk about it with us tonight.
I can go. So in high school, I had a class about Martin Luther King Jr. and it. I had many before that in grade school and things, but one thing that was brought up was there's no courage without fear, and our teacher talked a little bit about that, and that really helped me in my life because I always thought of people who did things such as this, such as this person who did something that was out of what was the norm at the time, and he had so much courage and thought there was no fear in what he was doing, but then realized that he may have had somebody still went through with it. So every time that I am standing up for something I believe is right, I have a little bit of fear, but then I think about that. So that is how he's inspired me throughout my life. Thank you.
I'll take a little different route. I really admire how he was so strong at public speaking and so passionate about whatever he was talking about. And I'm always admire people who are very passionate about what they're talking about and how well spoken they are. Always aspire to be like that.
Thank you.
We'll keep it on the same table. I think perseverance, and I think Anissa kind of touched on that. Despite the 2+ dozen times he's been arrested, the threats he's received, he was relentless in his pursuit for the greater good. And I think a lot of times when I had faced adversity, I'm like, man, this is tough. This is insurmountable. And it's like, when you look at the big picture, there are infinite amount more people throughout the world. Dr. King, for one, who's faced mountains compared to the molehills I've had to go. It's like buck up and take care of it, because everybody else has done far worse things in their life or have overcome far more serious things. So I think, for one, it's the perseverance, and this is a great example of that.
As an educator, I dealt with a variety of forms of discrimination, and it was a very challenging line of experiences throughout my profession, dealing with certainly dealing with issues of color, and then beyond that, when you start dealing with other disabilities and things that people do not even consider a part of that. And I really appreciated the opportunity to be able to help young people look at things outside of their own lives and consider how they are the same, how they're different, and how that puts them together.
Thank you.
The part I always really admired was the nonviolent protests, and just the waterfall or cascading effect that, like you touched on, Mayor, of all the different things that have occurred since the civil rights movement. And you look around the world and you see violence and persecution and all of these bad things happening. And, had him and others not done what they did, what might it look like today where we live? So.
I would say what I would have admired, similar to what I've heard, is his courage. How that's affected me most intimately, I would say, thinking about it, given who he was, it was clear to me that he didn't draw his courage from himself. That he drew his courage from his faith. And that's what sustained him. And that's what gave him the perspective to persevere and to overcome fear. I mean, there's no way he could go across a bridge marching towards police dogs and horses and officers and know what's going to happen and not be afraid. But he gave over himself to his faith, and that is what sustained him. And so that's I think, what's helped me in terms of when you go through your molehills, you know, to say, well, can I do it? No, I can't do it, but with my faith, I can. So.
Thank you. Thanks. Cheryl?
Obviously there's a million things that I admire, and how it impacts me every day. But I think it is very timely. Obviously, his Martin Luther King Day is coming up. But just yesterday or today, I don't remember which day, I was just talking to my daughter, and I was reading something, it was in her newsletter or something, and I read this quote, and it was, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." And it was very appropriate because we were talking about the lunchroom, right? You know, and the recess. And I had read that to her. And what I admire and what I love is that Dr. King was so prevalent then and now, and can make an impact that will go on for generations, and that it can be something in our everyday. It's an example that we can, his examples are what we can apply to our everyday life, and it doesn't have to just be a special occasion. And we don't, I feel like in recent, you know, decades, we've been missing, we haven't had such impactful people that we've been able to quote or be able to impact our children with things that they've done or said. And so I appreciate the impact that goes on for generations that he's made and things that he said.
There's so much.
Yeah.
There's so much. Would you like to join us? Thank you. Such a thoughtful discussion and sharing tonight. I really appreciate that.
Thanks for the heads up.
Sometimes I'm on top of my game. Sometimes. Thank you. Thank you again. Next meeting date is January 1st, 2025. I also will be sending out an email about Martin Luther King Jr. events that are going to be taking place in the community of throughout Rock County, so look for that. And is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, we're adjourned until we meet again.